Thank you for tuning in. I'm Baron Aragni.
And I'm Baronessa Aragni, and you're listening to Provident Vox, where we discuss various aspects of the occult and magic and without the bullshit. We know that usually we upload episodes every Wednesday. However, due to certain recent events, we were inspired to create this very special episode.
Indeed. Stay tuned because it's going to be a banger.
Explorers in the further regions of experience, demons to some, angels to others. We have such sights to show you. We'll tear your soul apart.
In today's episode, we are going to be discussing the Goetia. This is a subject of a lot of ire for us personally, as we have discussed them numerous times in numerous places, including our works such as the Hexagrammaton, but for some reason people still keep on asking questions about them. So this is our response to that.
Indeed. It's actually a tiresome subject nonetheless, but because it's so popular, we are certain that there's many novices or even beginners that would like to know what the Goetia is all about. So we will actually discuss it in this program and shed long needed light upon the subject matter.
Once and for all, hopefully. So, let's start with a hard truth. The demons most people fear in popular religion are largely literary inventions.
Indeed.
The fiery winged tempters of the New Testament, the grotesque torturers of medieval church art, and the horned devils of folk sermons. These are the children of translation errors, cultural borrowing, and centuries of propaganda.
Exactly, and we all do know how much control the church wants to have over certain things and certain parts, if not all.
Exactly. For example, the Tanakh does not contain a structured hierarchy of devils as later Christianity would have us believe. Words like Satan means adversary in a general sense, sometimes even referring to human opponents or divine messengers acting in opposition, not a rebel arch-fiend ruling a pit of eternal fire. Later church councils and theologians deliberately redefined these adversaries into cosmic enemies, inflating fear to keep the flock dependent on priestly mediation. What people now call demons in the Abrahamic sense are more accurately political tools dressed in myth built to frighten and control.
Indeed, and we both know that the crown and the church walks hand in hand with one another. They're both about control. Okay, and the same inflationary storytelling happens in the so-called occult revival of the Renaissance and Enlightenment. Spirits that were once neutral messengers, local deities, or personifications of natural forces were branded demons, simply because the dominant religious lens declares them so. The Goetia, for instance, would have you believe that there exists a neat roll call of 72 named infernal princes and dukes, etc. and so forth, each with carefully described appearances, powers, and ranks. But these descriptions are stitched together from a patchwork of much older and unrelated sources. Phoenician deities, Greek daimons, Arabic jinns, and even medieval folk tales forced into a single artificial infernal cabinet. And that's where the hierarchies, etc. and so forth comes in. This is not an authentic ancient map of demonic hierarchy. It is the result of European occultists cannibalizing names and myths from different cultures. Speaking about cultural appropriation, guys. Then packaging them into a manual that could be sold and circulated in the shadowy book markets of the 17th century.
And that brings us to the so-called Lesser Key of Solomon itself. A text often touted as Solomonic magic, yet having basically nothing to do with King Solomon, ancient Israel, any verified biblical era magical traditions. There is no archaeological, linguistic, or documentary evidence placing this grimoire anywhere near the time or place it claims to originate from.
True, that's so true.
In fact, its language, style, and magical instructions betray a distinctly post-medieval European hand. Its earliest manuscripts are 17th century copies, not ancient scrolls. Even the Hebrew words scattered within are often misspelled, misused, or mistranslated, clear signs that the authors were not fluent in the language they were pretending to channel. Far from being an unbroken Solomonic tradition, the Lesser Key is a Renaissance patchwork, basically, a late compilation of older grimoires, particularly influenced by the Pseudomonarchia Daemonum by Johann Weyer.
Now we challenge you to say that 10 times fast.
Yeah, they can totally do it. I'm not going to. I'm not going to do that again. Anyway, of Weyer, who himself did not believe in the literal reality of these demons, but catalogued them to expose the absurdities of witch hunters.
Yeah, if you ever read any of Johann Weyer's work, especially the former mentioned, you will see that it's very much written in a sarcastic tone. And it's true, guys, even the ceremonial structure of the Lesser Key doesn't hold up under any scrutiny. You can see that clearly with Agrippa's work as well. That's copy and paste all over. Most of these people who wrote these grimoires didn't have any understanding of the context they're in.
Some of them may have been practitioners, granted. We will grant them that. And we do refer people to read these grimoires, for example, of Agrippa and others. Yeah. However, that does not make them these all-powerful, all-knowing mages. It does not.
No, that is true. Many of the rituals in the Lesser Key now are little more than reworked Catholic exorcism formulas with the names swapped out. The so-called Seal of Solomon presented in it is a distorted magical diagram with no traceable lineage to any verified Jewish magical or mystical tradition. Keep this in mind, guys, okay? Instead, it's a composite of alchemical sigils, Renaissance planetary magic symbols, and Christianized invocations. Well, the evidence speaks for itself. You just have to read the book.
Yeah.
The authors essentially constructed a theatrical stage for a Solomonic play, then cast a random list of spirit names into it, half of which are corrupted forms of deities from cultures that had nothing to do with Solomon whatsoever. We can identify this clearly today because scholars have traced many of these names back to unrelated Mesopotamian, Greek, and Arabic roots, revealing the Goetia spirit catalogue as a literally Frankenstein, not a mystical lineage.
Exactly. And yet, both in religious pulpits and in occult marketing, the fear and allure of these demons persist. The churches preach them to maintain spiritual dependency. Occultists and occult publishers recycle them over and over and over again to sell books and talismans to thrill seekers and posers. Or rather what we call them, dabblers.
Yeah, there's plenty of them around.
But the thinking practitioner should ask, why should I work with a spirit whose identity is a medieval misinterpretation, a deliberate corruption, or a purely fictional invention? Real magic thrives when it is rooted in authentic spiritual traditions, not stitched together from second-hand scraps. This actually reminds me right now of the game of telephone. Don't know in the country in which you live if that game exists, but you know that thing where you have to repeat a message and then down the line inevitably it gets distorted? Watered down magical currents, enough said. The moment you realize that most of these canonical demons were never what their summoners thought they were, the spell of their false authority breaks.
And that's true, guys. You can try it yourself. Once you know the truth now, you can try working with them again if you've ever worked with them, and then see how efficient they will be.
Once you hear this, you cannot unhear it. Sorry.
Yeah, it's done is done. And breaking that spell is liberating. It's truly liberating. When you strip away the propaganda of the pulpit and the counterfeit mystique of the Lesser Key, you are left with a clearer path, not of fear, not of hollow theatrics, but of authentic exploration. You can seek spirits and forces that predate the fearmongers work with entities that have not been warped beyond recognition by religious or commercial agendas. In the end, the true magician has no need for a forged Solomonic passport to the spirit world. They forge their own connections, in truth, without bowing to the stage-managed demons of the clergy or the conjurer's counterfeit cabinet. That tether has been severed. Then you have free roam, guys.
Actually, that is the perfect way to say it, literally. But now you can say, but Aragni, you're saying all this stuff, but where's your evidence? Because so far it just sounds like, you're just ranting again, right? Okay, let's get into the hard manuscript evidence. The Lesser Key of Solomon, or the Lemegeton, appears nowhere in the historical record before the mid-17th century. There is no Hebrew original, no Greek or Aramaic ancestor text, nothing remotely linked to the biblical period. Its oldest surviving versions, such as Sloan MS 3825 and Harley MS 6482 in the British Library, are clearly written in English, with occasional clumsy insertions of Latin and Pseudo-Hebrew. Scholars like Joseph Peterson and Stephen Skinner have shown that much of the Goetia's text is derivative of Johann Weyr's Pseudomonarcha Daemonum from 1577 and Reginald Scott's Discovery of Witchcraft from 1584. Weyr himself was a physician and a skeptic who included his spirit list not as a magical handbook, but as an expose to undermine the hysteria of witch trials. The Goetia simply reappropriated that list, changed some names, altered descriptions, and bolted it into a ceremonial framework.
Indeed. That's how the Golden Dawn came into
existence. Gasp. We totally said that, didn't we? How absolutely terrible of us.
Copy, paste, copy, paste. Take the name Bifrons, as an example. Listed in Goetia as a count of hell who teaches sciences and changes corpses from one place to the other. But etymologically, Bifrons is just Latin for two-faced, from bi meaning two and frons meaning forehead or face. In Roman religion, Bifrons was a title of the god Janus or Janus, who had two faces looking in opposite directions, symbolizing transitions. In medieval bestiaries and mistranslations, the term was sometimes twisted into associations with amphibians because of the frog-like appearance of certain stylized Janus heads in art. Somewhere between the classical period and Weyr's catalogue, the name was stripped from its Roman context and turned into a demon, a fictional rebranding. The Goetia presents Bifrons as if he were an ancient infernal lord, but the linguistic trail proves he's just an appropriated cultural fragment with a fresh coat of hellish paint.
And this, just by doing this, by dissecting their names, by dissecting even their provided sigils, as it were, we can write an entire book discrediting these things listed in the Goetia as actual external entities, let alone demons, okay? They are not as you think they are. Bifrons is not an isolated case. Names like Astaroth are simply bastardized forms of the goddess Astarte or Ishtar, stripped of their fertility and war attributes, and recast as masculine demons in service to a Christianized infernal order. Asmodeus, likewise, is lifted from the Persian Aishmadeva, an Avestan spirit of wrath, and turned into a singular villain in the Testament of Solomon, a rare pseudographical text written centuries after Solomon's time yet again. The Goetia doesn't just pull from one culture. It's a pickpocket of names from Babylon, Phoenicia, Greece, Rome, Islam, and folk Christianity. The result is an ahistorical, inconsistent demonology that tells us more about 17th century European imagination than it does about any actual ancient magical lineage, or demons for that matter.
I agree completely. And we know, guys, the occult, the structure of the occult is eclectic, as it is. I mean, it's a mixed match of many various traditions. However, why disguise the intelligences within as something else? That doesn't make sense whatsoever. And now we're going to take a look at the ceremonial trappings of the Lesser Key of Solomon. The pentacles and seals, for instance, often claim ancient Solomonic origin, yet no such design appear in any verified Jewish magical papyri or medieval Hebrew grimoires such as the Sefer HaRazim, etc. Instead, many seals in Goetia are crude adaptations of diagram from Agrippa's 3-book of occult philosophy in the year 1531. Speak of the devil. And Pietro Albano's Heptameron, works which themselves borrowed freely from earlier Latin and Arabic sources. Okay, keep that in mind. Even so-called magical circles of Solomon in the Goetia is absent from Jewish tradition. Its lettering is often nonsensical when read by anyone fluent in Hebrew, or anyone slightly literate even in Hebrew, indicating it was designed by non-Hebrew speakers attempting to imitate sacred scripts for dramatic effect.
Now, let's just be honest. The occult as a whole, magic as a whole, sure, there's going to be things begged and borrowed from all over the place. That is just how it is. It is extremely eclectic, and that is just a fact.
It's standard, yeah.
But the problem is, when people look at that, they do not know what they're looking at. They don't see it, and they just take it as canonical, like it, in this case, came from the alleged King Solomon Allah Bible. Okay? That is where the problem comes in.
Exactly.
When you see it all laid out like this, the lesser key stops looking like a timeless book of secret wisdom and starts looking like what it actually is. A Renaissance scrapbook. Spirit lists scavenged from skeptical authors, seals copied from earlier printed grimoires, biblical names twisted out of context, and a theatrical Solomonic frame built to sell the illusion of antiquity. It's no more authentic than a modern fantasy novel that pretends to be an ancient prophecy. It might be atmospheric and entertaining, but it isn't an actual relic of ancient magic. And for the serious practitioner, grounding one's work in this kind of forgery means building on a foundation of sand.
Exactly. That reminds us of the Necronomicon. Of all the versions of the Necronomicon, it's just a great farce as the Solomonic books. And that's a key point, guys. Authenticity matters if you want real result. A magician who understands that Bifrons was never an ancient prince of hell, that Astaroth was once a goddess, and that the Solomonic circle was drawn by someone who couldn't even read Hebrew, gains the freedom to step outside the false canon. Okay, literally step out of the box. You can reclaim the spirits from their corrupted forms, trace them back to their true cultural identities, or discard them entirely in favor of genuine spiritual alliances. By dismantling the mythology built by church fearmongers and grimoire profiteers, you take back your sovereignty as a practitioner. The power is yours. You just need to take it, guys. You stop being basically a customer for someone else's fiction, and you start becoming the author of your own magic.
And isn't that what, throughout everything that we write, isn't that what we try to show to you all?
Yeah, exactly. Take the power, do your own thing. Think out of the box. That's the whole principle of the hexagrammaton. Question everything. Deprogram yourself. Remove the corruption within your perception. Because, guys, we had to go through all of those things. When we first started the path, we believed everything, as it was. And then eventually we saw the bullshit behind everything. And then, we had to discard that and start anew, basically.
Exactly. So, if we can do it, and we are stubborn motherfuckers, okay? If we can do that, then so can you. And then what exactly is your excuse, okay? But moving on. Let us become a little bit more specific and name some names. We've pulled spirits straight from the Goetia and traced their origins. Not in massive extent and degree because, otherwise this is going to be a lot longer, just enough for you to actually get what we're trying to show you. We're going to tell you where these so-called ancient demons really came from and how the lesser key twisted them into something unrecognizable. First up, Bifrons once again. As we've already said, this name is just Latin for two-faced, a title of the Roman god Janus. There is no evidence whatsoever of any infernal or demonic spirit by this name before Weier's work. By the time the Goetia picks it up, he is transformed from a god of doorways into a cadaver-hauling infernal count. That is a complete fucking butchery.
Yeah, and we've seen that a lot straight throughout the occult. With certain entities in the guise of, let's just say, liminal or liminal demonic figures or demons flat out, which in fact they were deities. We've seen that time and time again. Number 2, Astaroth in the Goetia is a powerful male duke riding a dragon, but historically the name comes from the Phoenician goddess Astarte, herself a Near Eastern manifestation of Ishtar. In her original context, she was associated with basically fertility, sexuality, and war, not infernal politics. The demonization of Astarte was a direct product of biblical polemic against rival deities, later cemented by Christian demonologists. And guys, the Roman Catholic Church is at the forefront of this. Just as they created saints to welcome in pagan, let's just say pagan converts, and make it more associable, the Roman Catholic belief, to these pagans by having extra saints and so on and so forth. So they've demonized many other deities.
Exactly. Let's talk about Asmodee, also known as Asmodeus. The name is Persian in origin, Aishma Deva from Zoroastrianism. It's a spirit of wrath. In the Testament of Solomon, written centuries after any alleged Solomon's lifetime, Asmodeus becomes a tempter who disrupts marriages. Would you look at that? That pseudographical role carried forward into medieval demonology, stripped of the original Persian cosmology and grafted into Christianized law.
Convenient, don't you think? 4th, let's take a look at Baal. Listed in the Goetia as the first spirit. Baal was never a demon in its original context. Baal simply means Lord in Northwest Semitic languages and referred to multiple local deities. Remember, it's not a singular deity, but multiple local deities. The most prominent being Baal Hadad, a Canaanite storm god, basically. The biblical writers recast him as an enemy deity, and later grimoires turned that theological rival into a horned, toad-headed demon. Interesting, don't you think?
And just to confirm that once again for you guys, Baal is a fucking title, not a name.
And 5th, Paimon. Popular in modern horror films, Paimon's name may derive from a corruption of Arabic term like Ru Paiman, or from pre-Islamic Middle Eastern spirits. There is no evidence of this figure in any verified ancient Jewish or Solomonic text. Actual Solomonic text. We're talking about the Tanakh now, guys, not the Book of Solomon or the watered-down Book of Solomon. Okay, his first clear appearances are in late European demon lists, not in antiquity.
Exactly. Now, moving on. 6th, let's take Ammon. The Goetia depicts him as a wolf with a serpent's tail and breathing fire. Historically, Ammon is a corruption of Amun, the Egyptian creator god and king of the gods, in that system, of course. By medieval times, his name was stripped from Egyptian theology and planted into demon lists, turning a chief deity of Thebes into a grotesque infernal caricature.
How do you like them apples?
But actually, all of this should be obvious to you, because how can you go through the Goetia and say you see one called Ammon? How does that not remind you of the name Amun, if on any level?
So that brings the question, are you just fucking ignorant or are you willfully ignorant? You decide. Next, Agares. The Goetia presents him as an old man riding a crocodile who can cause earthquakes. This likely derives from the corruption of a name of an Arabic jinn, or possibly a reworking of a garus from apocryphal Christian magical traditions. No ancient Jewish or biblical sources mention such a spirit. He is a complete invention, guys. He is an invention.
Next, Vinay or Vinea. The Goetia calls him a great king and earl who can build towers and discover hidden things. The name likely comes from the Latin vinea, meaning vineyard, literally, possibly lifted from Christian allegories. His description has no precedent in ancient magic. It is a pure post-medieval literary creation yet again.
No surprises there. And finally, Buer. In the Goetia, he appears as a lion-headed figure with 5 goat legs, teaching philosophy and herbalism. Okay, philosophy and herbalism. This bizarre composite has no traceable ancient counterpart as well. The name Buer itself appears suddenly in the late medieval and early modern demon lists, probably invented wholesale to fill out the catalogue. Let's fill the blanks.
Exactly. As mentioned just now, we can literally write a book about this, pulling all of this apart right in front of your eyes with evidence. We've already started with some of it in the hexagrammaton. We showed you the alchemical sigils used to compile their sigils.
Exactly. We dissected one of the sigils in there and showed you exactly how they put it together.
It can be done with any of them.
Yeah.
Anyway, when you put all of this together, even these simple examples that we have just presented you, the pattern is undeniable. The Goetia's 72 spirits are not a continuous Solomonic tradition, but a scrapbook of misappropriated deities, misunderstood literary insults, corrupted foreign names, and outright inventions. For the critical practitioner, this is the smoking gun, proof that the book is a Renaissance construct and not an ancient grimoire.
Now, guys, you should ask yourself the following as well. How many of these so-called ancient grimoires are not mere fabrications? How many of them? Moving on. Okay, and so we arrive at the heart of the matter, guys. All these names we've dismantled tonight, Bifrons, Astaroth, Asmodate, but to mention a few, these are not iron gates into the infernal kingdom, so to speak, okay? They are painted doors on a stage set. Step through them and you'll find no more than paper walls, props, from another century's theatre of the mind. The Lesser Key of Solomon promises you an audience with kings and princes, but the only court you'll stand in is one of ghosts stitched together from mistranslations, plagiarisms, and imagination. The magician who builds their empire on such figures is building on sand, and the tide is coming in. And it's coming in fast.
Actually, I'm going to take the time to quickly say something as well regarding the 72 of the Goetia. You know, there's this popular theme, this popular running theme with, let's call it certain paths of magic. I will not name names. You lot already know who you are. You try to invert and corrupt pre-existing things so to thereby expose it in its true form, right? Apparently true form, as you would call it, okay? So it's ironic that the 72 Shem Ham Forash celestials or angels, as derived from the text of Exodus, happens to be 72.
Exactly. Do you think that's a coincidence, guys?
Exactly. Literally, go on Wikipedia right now, look for the 72 Shem Ham Forash angels, and right there on Wikipedia itself, it shows their Goetic counterpart.
That's ridiculous because the Shamforesh angels are truly ancient. That's truly ancient.
That is 101 Jewish mysticism or Hebrew mysticism right there.
Through and through.
Anyway, if you truly wish to encounter the denizens of the shadowed realms, if you really hunger for contact with those intelligences that dwell beyond the veil, which are external from you too, by the way.
Intelligent, external, and sentient, everything.
Not thought forms either. You must abandon the second-hand maps drawn by people who never left their own libraries. Instead, turn inward and upward and outward through the one skill that will not lie to you, the art of mental projection. This is not idle daydreaming, nor the theatrical astral travel sold in pamphlets. This is disciplined, structured projection of consciousness into the etheric strata, where forms shift and powers speak without the filter of another man's pen.
Guys, I just have to add this here is it's important and it's relevant. When we wrote the Book of Dead Names, Volume 1, where do you think we got those names from and the descriptions of those spirits within the book? Through mental projection. We didn't just invent this. We didn't suck it out of our thumbs. No. We mentally projected. We entered the etheric realms, the astral realms. We found these creatures, these entities, and we recorded them. We noted them down. Same as some of the entities we did in the Black Book. The same way, no different.
And in fact, with many entities that we present to you, and many more still that you don't even know about, that we have already recorded, because this is probably going to sound a bit conflated, but it is honestly a little bit of a hobby of ours to document things that we find via mental projection.
Yeah, exactly. In those realms, you will not meet the Goetic spirits because a book told you it existed. No, contrary. You will meet what is there, what has always been there. Entities not bound to the pages of the Lemmageddon or any grimoire, but to the living currents of creation and uncreation. In other words, of existence.
Yep.
Some may wear the mask of familiar names to test you, to lure you into comfortable recognition, so to speak. But press deeper, look past the costume, and you will see their true faces or their true absence. This is how you separate the radiant predators from the hollow shades.
I'm going to say it straight to you guys, as we always do, after all. We were there too. When we first stepped our infantile little feet into the world of the occult, we were also dazzled and amazed by the Lesser Key and other such grimoires.
Yeah.
We were, I mean...
That is true.
That is, you cannot not encounter that as one of your first sources, okay? It's basically impossible not to have that as one of your first encounters with us, okay?
That's like a gateway book to the occult.
It is. It actually is. But anyway.
The only high you're going to get is misconceptions, though.
Yeah, but people love that.
Yeah,
anyway.
Clearly.
But here's the point. If you are a novice and you really, really do not know of better, you do not have the discernment, you do not have the experience to be able to discern for yourself what is and what isn't, what is worth your time and what is not your time, then obviously you're going to go for it, right? You want to practice magic. You want to contact a so-called demon, right? But here is the thing. Again, are you being ignorant now? Truly and sincerely ignorant? Or are you purposefully ignorant? Because many of you don't move past the Goetia. Many of you stay in the Goetia and you claim that you have practiced 10 plus years. Good for you, but the only thing you ever allegedly spoke to is contained in the Lesser fucking Key of Solomon.
Yeah, well, it looks like you motherfuckers are on a permanent loop.
Yeah, the point is to get better. Isn't it? You must understand this. The counterfeit spirits of the popular grimoires can only give you what they are: dust, emptiness, and echoes. They are specters of the imagination, imprints of centuries of repetition, thought forms inflated by believers, but devoid of the primal spark. You could chain yourself to them for years and years and years, an entire lifetime, and never receive more than a coffer filled with ash.
Yeah.
The etheric realms, however, those places obtained by us as the living through mental projection, are rich with those who have not been reduced to cardboard characters in a conjurer's catalogue. These are the ones that can reshape you, who can answer with a voice that does not sound like your own thoughts in disguise.
To go to these realms, though, you have to have the balls, the chutzpah, and the muchness to go there. And then you'll find what you are looking for. Mind you, you will.
You will.
Or they will find you either way.
It will happen. We can actually guarantee you of that.
After all, there's many travelers there.
You know, I'm laughing, and you guys don't know why I'm laughing at that comment, but I'm not going to tell you why. Because if you actually do end up practicing mental projection, and you do it successfully, You will meet them soon enough, and no, travelers are not a reference to other mental projectionists at all.
No.
Okay? So let's call this a private joke for now until you can understand it.
Okay, guys, mastering mental projection is no easy road. It really is. It's not fucking easy at all. We shit you not. It is not. It demands hours of practice, nights of stillness, and the ruthless refinement of the mind until it can launch itself from the body without collapse. Remember, we're talking about mental projection, not this bullshit fucking, what's this astral traveling nonsense. All right? Mental projection, the real goddamn thing.
Yeah.
It demands control over dream and waking alike, conscious and subconscious. Okay? The ability to hold an image in perfect detail until the senses submits to the will, where you enter a gnosis, in other words. You need to attain and achieve a gnosis, a gnostic state. But when you have mastered it, you will no longer need to ask if a demon is real. You will stand in its presence with no priest, no author, no occult marketplace between you and the encounter. You need to take power, step out of your comfort zone, and go and do this fucking shit. Plain and simple. You have to do it for yourself.
There is no easy way to do this. No one else can do it for you. You want power? You want true power? You want actual experiences with external spiritual beings that is not of your own creation or a collective creation of humanity? Go.
Remember, guys, our business, Arachne Arcane Services International, can only help you so much to a point. But the rest you'll have to do yourself. We can show you the way, but you have to walk that road.
And speaking of showing you the way, we wrote a book on mental projection.
Yeah.
Liber Clavium. I mean, it's in the title, The Art and Practice of Mental Projection. Maybe you guys don't really get it because we call it mental projection and not astral travel or some bullshit like that. Now, we wrote the book. It is there. Study the mechanics of projection, the techniques of etheric anchoring, the methods of sustained consciousness. Build that fortress of your mind until it can house you fully when you send your consciousness forth. Seek out not the pre-written spirits of another era, those documented fragment schisms, but those you find in the living currents of the hidden worlds. You will find them, and they will name themselves to you. Let your own will bind them, and let your own hand write their true seals, not the seals of some Renaissance merchant of mystery. Only then will you walk among authentic power, and only then will your coffers hold gold instead of dust.
Yeah, guys, like what we've done in many of our books, when we present the spirits for you, we lead by example. We're not copy and paste motherfuckers. We don't believe in that bullshit. It's not who we are, it's not what we stand for. Okay? We are pioneers. We live and breathe the occult. We go out, we do shit and get stuff done.
But now we have to say something, because we have discussed this in our written works where we spoke about the Goetia as well. Now, although we have discredited them here for you, proving to you that they are not what they appear, they are not external, sentient, self-aware beings. If anything, they can say, okay, I reached out to them, but they answered. Okay, first and foremost, are you sure you reached anything but yourself? Ask yourself that first. Not going to get too deeply into that right now. Secondly, pretty sure that you guys ought to be familiar with the term thought form.
Exactly. You might be even speaking to one of these motherfuckers. If you haven't trained yourself, you haven't mastered yourself, how will you know what you are speaking to and not speaking to? How will you know if it's an authentic thing or your own fucking psyche?
Also, because then you can say, oh, but they made the candles flash or this or that or this. That's parlor tricks.
And remember, guys, nothing is quicker than a thought. Thusly, a thought form can be formed equally as fast.
Speaking of which, okay, regarding thought forms for a second, okay, we personally, for ourselves, for our own purposes, as it were, have created thought forms at a drop of a hat that it took us no more than 10 minutes to slap them together, give them a sigil, give them a name, give them a purpose, charge them and set them forth, that could perform tasks more significant, pretty significant in fact actually, and swifter than any fucking alleged demon listed in the Goetia.
Yeah, that's the truth.
We promise you this. And that, then you can say, oh, but you have all the experience to do so. Yes, we do have the experience to do so. But then again, I repeat, what is your excuse?
Yeah, what's stopping you?
What is stopping you? Yes, it's going to take time. It's going to take dedication. It's going to take all of these things. And believe us now, it's going to take plenty dark nights of the soul.
Yeah. And what's also wrong with you motherfuckers out there is you like your crutches too much. You like to lean on these motherfuckers like the Goetia or whatever the fuck you want to call them because it's convenient. But when you have to drop your crutches and when you have to stand on your own 2 feet, it's not that easy.
Exactly.
But you see, that's where true power lies. When you have to stand on your own 2 goddamn feet and do things yourself.
And that is the true measure of your power as a practitioner.
Yeah. And remember, if we can do it, so can you. You are only stopping yourself.
Exactly. That's what we keep on saying over and over and over and over and over again. And we know, okay, sure, some of you may heed our words, and you know what? Good. You will reap the rewards from that. We promise you that.
Every word you utter, an incantation, every spell you cast, every spirit you summon, every time you mental project, every time you perform a Gnostic operation or you go into a state of gnosis, you become more spiritually powerful. It's an automatic process. It's spiritual transmutation. You cannot stop it. You cannot hinder it. It will happen nonetheless. Remember this, guys.
And I'm actually going to add something here. And I'm speaking to people of the left-handed currents right now specifically. I'm looking at you. And yeah, sometimes it sounds like we're especially hard on you guys, but it's because of a couple of obvious reasons which should become ever more obvious as we go through this podcast series of ours. The point of your path, on the left-handed path, no matter what you want to fucking call it, the point is your own power and your own will. That is the point. That is the purpose.
Exactly. You don't have to use some deity or some fucking other shit as a crutch.
Yeah, that is not the fucking point. The point is not to become a demonolita or some other fucking bullshit like that. That's why I cannot stand those people.
Your point is to become a god.
Not to grovel about on your knees like a fucking worm.
Not worshipping gods, but becoming a god.
Because, and here comes the thing that'll stab you right in the heart. If you wanted to crawl around and grovel and beg and plead and pray to some god, then you should have stayed with your Christian background after all.
Yeah, whatever background you're from. Because those parasites that you worship, they love your worship. And they'll give you pittance in return.
And we will call them parasites because that's exactly what they are. If you would open your eyes and see.
Okay, guys, so we just thought we'd drop this bomb within your soul and shatter your psyche with a bit of truth. But it's good. It's good. Dignum et justum est.
Dignum et justum est.
It's good for you.
It is not that we are being malicious. Understand that we are not. But you need to know this.
Yeah. But it had to be said, and you cannot unhear it. It has been said, and it has been said by others before us as well.
Exactly. We're not the first saying any of
No, so we're just basically reiterating it.
So, we are reiterating it, but perhaps we're just saying it a little bit more sharply than others before us.
Yeah, and with a bit more, less vagueness.
Yeah.
But that's who we are, you know. We don't fuck around. We take the no-nonsense approach, no bullshit, and we say things as it is.
Well,
and
that's why you're listening to this podcast in the first place.
Yeah, and remember, this is not from our opinions. This is from practical experience gained from many years.
So, if you are still one that works with the Goetia, as if they are external self-aware entities, and you actually believe them to be princes and dukes of hell and all that, do yourself a favor. After this podcast is over, evoke them and ask them what we said is true. you will notice, regardless what the fuck they may say, because, the reasons, things will not be the same ever again between you.
Yes, it won't ever be the same again. Terrible.
Terrible. It's so woe.
But it's a good thing for you. Suffer so you can grow spiritually.
The plaster has been ripped off.
Yeah. Okay, guys, that concludes this episode.
Indeed. This very special, unscheduled episode of ours. Hope you enjoyed it. And on whatever platform you're listening to us, Spreaker, YouTube, Spotify, we see actually this is pretty popular on Spotify.
Yeah, for some reason.
For some reason, that was pretty unexpected. Thanks. But anyway, Facebook even. Like, follow, subscribe if you want to hear more. And if you have any suggestions or requests of future topics that you would like us to talk about, let us know.
Yeah, guys, don't be a troll. Tell us what you're really interested in hearing, and we'll consider it strongly. And you might even hear it in one of the episodes.
Exactly.
We don't bite much, promise.
No, we don't.
So you can actually contact us and make suggestions.
Let's see. Today is Saturday, so it's okay. You're safe on a Saturday. It's fine.
Yeah.
Anyway, and always remember, as above, so below.
As within, so without.